Hello, I am here with Nietzsche's on the Genealogy of Morals and going to read through some of the preface. Nietzsche was born 1844 and passed away in 1900. This is the first section of the preface. We are unknown to ourselves, we men of science, and for good reason, since we have never searched for ourselves. How should we ever find ourselves? Truly has it been said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Our treasure consists in the hives of our knowledge. It is to those hives that we, creatures of the air, are always turning, laden with the honey of the intellect. In our hearts we care for but one thing, to bring something home to the hive. As far as the rest of life, with its so-called experiences, is concerned, which of us has sufficient interest or sufficient time to devote to them? In our dealings with such affairs, we were, I fear, never entirely committed. Our heart is simply not there, and certainly not our attention. Rather, we are like someone whose divine distractions and reveries are shattered when the clock strikes 12, suddenly awakened. The chimes still resounding in his ears, he asks himself, what hour now has just struck? Sometimes we too afterwards rub our ears, as it were, and in complete astonishment and embarrassment ask, what is it that we have just experienced? Further, who are we, really? And count, after they have struck, all the 12 strokes of the clock of our experience, of our life, of our being, and alas, lose count. We must remain foreign and unknown to ourselves. We do not understand ourselves. We are bound to be mistaken about our nature. For us, the motto, each one is the furthest away from himself, holds good to all eternity. As far as ourselves are concerned, we are unknown. In this preface, Nietzsche is looking at the idea of knowing thyself, that injunction. And Nietzsche feels we don't know ourselves. He mentions the hives, so I think like the hive mind. He mentions lack of interest in time, our heart not being there, and divine distractions and reveries. For Nietzsche, we must awaken before we begin to know ourselves. And that means stop taking things for granted, start questioning. In the Genealogy of Morals, to which this is a preface, Nietzsche is going to question our most basic assumptions. He questions if good is really good, if it really means anything objective or absolute or true. And for Nietzsche, there are really no truths. Everything is a construction from the particular perspectives, and everything leads for Nietzsche in a quasi-determinist way, because he's not a determinist, but neither is he a libertarian, to physiology and psychology. Underlying everything is a will to power, power not necessarily meaning anything sort of corrupt or violent, but really it means a competitive force and there's a system of competing drives and affects, and all of them want to be victorious. So there is this idea of domination. And for Nietzsche, we project a lot onto our experience because we want to be consoled. We want to superimpose order upon chaos. And so this all results in us not knowing ourselves because we don't take the time to be suspicious about what we could be. And for Nietzsche, he philosophizes with a hammer. What he wants to do is kind of like Plotinus in Neoplatonism, to find our true selves. Plotinus talks about chipping away. And so I think Nietzsche wants to chip away all of the distractions and obstacles to really knowing ourselves. In Nietzsche's mind, we reduce so much of our world to various categories of cause and effect. We want to find a reason for everything, because if we find a reason, then life makes sense and maybe we can assert some control. But for Nietzsche, that would be a false control because it's based on useful fictions. Nietzsche wants to get to the place where there's the wasteland. And what do we do in the wasteland? We dance and we laugh and we're free spirits. We can then understand that the life is tragic, and the only response we can have, the only corner of agency we can have, is an artistic one. There is an aesthetic justification of life connected with amor fati, love of one's fate. So just like an artist is limited by their own vision, the materials, the colors they can create, whatever the medium is that they're working with, they have to grapple with their limitations, their facticity. But at the same time, and this is Nietzsche's existentialism, which if you know Sartre's work, and also to some extent Camus with the absurd, this will make sense. We have facticity, and to transcend it, we have to accept our facticity. The way we transcend it for Nietzsche and other existentialists is we experiment in the realm of hermeneutics, the interpretation that we have. So I can say that I have all of these facts, quote unquote, about me. And being delusional about them, trying to erase them, trying to disregard them is not really authentic. But what is authentic is saying how I look at it, how I choose, and knowing it's a choice, knowing what I'm doing, being aware of what I'm doing, that I am interpreting my past, but I'm working with my past. And that is my freedom. It's also my freedom to choose a project that is myself. For Nietzsche, like Sartre, there is no self that is a thing like an inkwell. What we are, especially for Nietzsche, is a system of complex, constellated drives, instincts, affects that each want something, so that drives wanting is kind of metaphorical language. They want to win over. If you have two drives competing, say your drive that is hunger and your drive for sleep, Nietzsche says we might think we're in control of that, but really it's up to our physiology. And we can't really know the subtle sort of processes that are affecting us. We only understand what breaks through the threshold of consciousness. And so one of those drives is going to win out. And what our agency is how we interpret that. Oh, I decided to stay up and make dinner because I felt like that would be the best thing for me. But Nietzsche says that is a story, and that's fine. We need useful fictions. We need stories to navigate life. But we have to know that that's a fiction. Our interpretation also could be, I have no idea why I'm staying up late to make dinner, but that is the drive that won out. And I think for Nietzsche, the freedom that comes with really understanding that we are relaying stories onto our physiology and our preconscious, subconscious psychology is that we can hammer away at the moral layers. Because what might we say or think when we wake up the next morning tired? We might feel guilty. We might feel self-critical. Oh, I should know better. I'm such an idiot. I know that sleep is the most important thing. But then we might say, oh, but if I didn't eat, maybe I couldn't sleep at all because I need so many calories to be able to go to sleep. And we might be in this ruminating loop of not really knowing how to think of it. But just like Sartre said, there's no good or bad choices. You make a choice and then you make it good. I think that Nietzsche feels that having a more realistic understanding of what's going on inside of ourselves and in our environment will then lead to a healthier state of mind.